President Trump appears to be all in on impeachment. The White House is signaling he wants a trial. And when the Democratic presidential hopefuls take the debate stage later this month, that topic is 100% sure to come up.
Oh, yeah. Here to weigh in on all of this is the Hill's editor-in-chief, Bob Cusack. He joins us now with the debrief. Welcome, sir.
Good morning.
See you, Bob.
So Trump is welcoming an impeachment trial. Warning bells should be going off for Democrats if that's the case.
It's an interesting strategy here.
Yeah.
Do you get the trial where he's acquitted in all likelihood?
Yeah.
Or, like Mitch McConnell is at least favoring, let's bring up a trial because he has to, he says, under the Senate rules.
Yeah, current Senate rules.
Current Senate rules. And then you have a motion to dismiss, which you had under Clinton, but remember, Republicans had both chambers.
Right.
Here you have the Democrats running the House, and Republicans. It's split government. So they could just dismiss it and avoid the trial. And I think that, remember, whatever the White House wants, and that can change on a daily basis,
Sure.
Mitch McConnell is trying to preserve his majority. But how will Susan Collins vote on that?
Right.
How will Ben Sasse? How will Mitt Romney vote on that?
That's a good question. So how many votes do they need for a motion to dismiss?
They just need a majority.
51?
So they just have to keep their guys in line.
Yeah.
Now
they can even lose two, I think.
Oh, yeah, they could lose a few, yeah.
Right.
So they just have to bring it up, and it could be after weeks and weeks of impeachment in the House. Mitch McConnell says,
done.
goodbye.
But I mean, you could see the White House wanting the theater of this, especially if Republicans more or less control the process and get to bring in, Corey Lewandowski to have a repeat of his performance or whatever. Like, they would love that.
Well, and remember, this is going to be a show if it goes to a trial. I mean, the Chief Justice comes in, you have
with
the
the
House.
robes.
Yeah, people forget this. I mean, the House impeachment managers have to be voted on. Who's that going to be? Maybe Ocasio-Cortez? I don't think so. But that would be entertaining. So, do you want the headline? Does the White House want the headline, Trump acquitted, or motion dismisses impeachment?
Here's my question for the Democrats. Like, how do they think this is going to play out? I mean, we know more or less how this ends. It ends in the Democrats losing and headlines being written, Trump acquitted or impeachment dismissed or whatever.
Right.
Like, have they gamed that out? What is their best case scenario?
Well, I mean, that's what Pelosi's been, thinking and saying.
Yes.
Now the polls, as you guys have been talking about, is like creeping up for favor of impeachment. That number, though, is not going to get to like 70% or anything like that, and not in this divided country. So that is the finish line. And how does that play? So far for House Democrats, it's going well. But when you start impeachment, anything can go off the rails at any moment.
Bob, as I understand, the president raised like $13 million just after the impeachment announcement. They're fundraising like crazy. The other thing
almost as much as you pointed out this morning.
Almost as much as Joe Biden
raised in the whole quarter.
And it's like, so currently there's this revisionism that I've been hearing from some of the impeachment advocates that impeaching Clinton actually helped elect George W. Bush. Is there anything to that?
I mean, I think that's a stretch. I mean, because you had certainly the midterm election.
60% approval rate.
And that was, impeachment was bad for Republicans and bad for Newt Gingrich. It basically led to his demise. But then bringing it forward years, I just don't kind of buy that.
I don't see it either. And that's what that ultimately it's the political decision. Do we try and damage Trump? I haven't seen any evidence, historically true, that's there yet.
It's not just do we damage Trump? It's also what do you want to focus on? And with Hillary, like we saw that people didn't really care. Like this, none of this is a surprise that he behaves this way.
Right.
And we tried to run this campaign focused on his character and putting that front and center.
Yeah.
It didn't resonate. And yet here we go back to the same well.
Well, yeah, there are some people who just say, well, Trump is Trump and he does crazy things. And we've gotten used to it. And Democrats need they need sound bites. They need this very confined as opposed to 10 complicated articles of impeachment, which are hard to describe. Now, Ukraine, most people don't know where the Ukraine is, so they have to make this very simple.
It doesn't look good, but guess what? Hunter Biden sitting on the board making $50K also doesn't look good. And so now we're going to have months and months of, and now we're learning about Hunter in China. And like, this is not a good look.
How is that going to play on the Democratic debate stage? That's my question. Do you think it'll come up? I'm curious to see whether they actually raise the Hunter question to any of the candidates. Haven't seen it.
I think they have to, Sagar. I mean, this is the first debate since the impeachment decision to move forward. So remember, in prior debates, they barely even brought up impeachment.
Yes.
So I think this has to be front and center, but at the same time, the candidates are for impeachment, at least an inquiry. I do think it's going to be a big part of the debate, but I also you're not going to see differences of opinion on this.
I think the one area where there could be a difference of opinion is how they respond to the question about Hunter Biden.
Yes.
Because you had Elizabeth Warren really with a terrible answer on, whether her corruption plan, which her whole thing is centered disclosure on corruption,
Sure.
whether it would cover the son of your vice president.
She said no.
Sitting on Ukraine.
Right.
She ultimately said no. So where does Bernie stand on that? Where do the other candidates stand on that? To me, that's where the differences could be.
Yeah, and that's especially bad for Warren because she's running a very populist campaign, and $50,000 a month is a lot of money.
As Crystal pointed out, more than the Exxon board makes.
Wow. Yeah, exactly.
No, that's a problem, and I do think in the long term, I know Democrats are supporting Biden, and don't pick on Biden. But we're reminding everybody of this really mistake that happened. Remember, the stepson of John Kerry at the time was telling Hunter Biden, don't do this.
Right.
It looks bad.
And
at
telling the State Department, saying, I had nothing to do with
Exactly.
this. I mean, so the other thing is, Bob, at the same time, Biden only raised $15 million. I mean, that is not a good haul from him. Does appearing weaker there make him more vulnerable on the stage? Like, do you think he's soft enough now that somebody like a Julian Castro punch could actually land?
If it doesn't backfire on Castro.
Yeah.
Now, listen, this is less money than Buttigieg raised, so that's a problem. And it goes to the heart of what we talked about before here. Where's the passion for Joe Biden?
Right.
Passion is always money. Trump has passion, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders. And they, now, Biden did well months ago on the first fundraising test. This one, he really didn't do well.
Yeah.
And it wasn't surprising that it was a disappointing number because he waited to release it.
And it's not just an optics thing, by the way. It really matters, especially in a traditional campaign like his, where he just wants to blanket the airwaves. Those TV ads are expensive, and so when you're coming in with only $15 million, it does limit what you can do.
This is a national race that could go on for a long time. Super Tuesdays after the early states, you've got to be on the air in all those states.
And that's the thing about Obama's campaign. That guy was printing money. I remember, I think David Plouffe was saying in 2008, he'd never had a campaign where he didn't have to make decisions on what to cut. He's like, I actually have anything, all the money I ever want to do. And Biden was supposed to be that successor. I can beat Trump, raise the hundreds of millions, be at the top of the polls. That's just falling apart. It's crumbling.
Now, the other side of the coin here is that Clinton had a lot more money than Trump.
Yes.
And Trump won.
Right.
Yeah.
So
money's
not everything, but it is an indicator. It is important. I actually
think Trump had a lot more energy too, and Biden's not doing so great on that
It's also
front.
free media time, which of course Trump was the master of.
Of course.
Yeah.
So how is Trump dealing with all this impeachment stuff? Staying even keel, just keeping it
very
slow
measured,
and steady.
very measured. No, listen, his rhetoric has changed. He's going after Adam Schiff, which probably Schiff likes because that means he's a threat.
It helps them both.
Ratcheting up his rhetoric on treason and Democrats are maniacs.
Right.
Now, his rhetoric has always been, up there. He's bringing it up to another
It
level.
reminds me of the campaign. He looks, honestly, I think he enjoys it. He's in the fight of his life. This is that way. Everyone was about that Finnish prime minister conference. That's who he really is.
He does this way better than the Democrats do. I watched Joe Biden was in Nevada last night, and he did, an event, and they live streamed it on his YouTube channel, which, by the way, only has 8,000 subscribers. So check that out. Way fewer than we have. Anyway, I digress. They had like this prepared statement for him to read about this, and the whole time he's like this.
Yeah.
He's stumbling over his words.
Stop
and in my
going
head,
after me.
I'm contrasting that with Trump out there, extemporaneous, fiery, going after people. There's just no comparison. Trump is way better at this.
Well, Biden did that at one of the debates. He was kind of reading, and that never works. It has to come from the heart, and Trump is a great campaigner. I do think on Trump, he's conflicted. He likes this to some degree, but then he had this storm of Robert Mueller for 2 years, and he won. It passed, basically. And then here comes another storm that, of course, he created.
I think it drives him crazy, but in that fight is what he's the best at. It really does remind. I was watching that, and I was like, that's just like that campaign right in the middle of Ted Cruz. That's when he truly lost it. I was making fun of people, playing around on the stage, saying I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue. That's actually what his people like the most.
They do. They love the show. He's a showman.
He knows how to do it.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on Rising, Governor Mark Sanford announced he was running in the 2020 GOP primary. He said, quote, "We need to have a conversation on what it means to be a Republican."
We're going to ask him to explain how he defines being a Republican and also what his 2020 strategy is. That is next.